Hello everyone, this is Ocean back here once again for another video. And today is June 9th, 2026. And do you know what today is? That's right, today is the 20th anniversary of one of my favorite movies of all time. That's right, today is the 20th anniversary of one of my favorite animated films of 2006. And which animated film 2006 I'm talking about for its 20th anniversary? Well, I'm talking about Cars. Now, if you guys don't know, for those who don't know what the Pixar Cars is, well, Pixar Cars is like a franchise where Cars have it's like a franchise where you have all these car characters like Lightning McQueen, Mater, Sally, Ramon, Fillmore, Sarge, Luigi and Guido, Doc Hudson, Finn, and you have some cars from Cars too, like Finn and Holly, Miles Axelrod, the Lemons, especially Professor Z, because Professor Z is one of the most evil lemons out of all of them. Because Professor Z is one of those lemons that Professor Z is one of those lemons that are evil and wants to take over the world and wants to destroy Femic Missile. And there's some characters from Cars 3 like Cruz Ramirez, Jackson Storm, Sterling. Like, okay, out of all the characters from Cars 3, I think Jackson Storm or Cruz Ramirez are both tied as one of my favorite characters from Cars 3. Now, if you guys want to know what is my favorite Cars movie of all in the whole franchise, my favorite Cars movie has to be the second one, because the second one has to be one of my favorites because it has all these different countries like Tokyo, Italy, France, and London, like where the World Grand Prix races were taking place at. I think Tokyo, out of all the places, I think Tokyo is one of the best places out of all of them in Cars 2. And matter of fact, I think the first race is actually one of the best races I've seen in a Pixar film, in a Cars film. Now, if you guys want to know who's my favorite Cars characters in general, my favorite Cars characters are Lightning McQueen, Mater, I guess, Cruz, Jackson Storm, and Femic Missile. Those are all my favorite Cars characters out of the franchise. So now, if you guys want to know, do you want to hear the story of how I'm obsessed with cars? Well, I'm going to tell you this right now, and I'm going to tell you this right now. So, so sit down, relax, and enjoy a quick story of how I became obsessed with cars. So, hope you guys are ready for this. Once upon a time, there was a little old me, Austin Young, who is a little kid. He was born on May 17th, 2006. And my mom and my dad took me to the theater to see Cars. And I remembered when I was little, I watched the Cars movie. I watched it 100 times. And after watching it for the first time in theaters on June 11th, I think, I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved that film. The first one is one of my, and I think the first movie is one of my favorite animated films of 2006. And it's actually one of the best films I've seen in a long time since of the Avengers, X Men and stuff like that. But I I think Cars is one of my favorites. You know why? Cars is one of my favorite Pixar franchises in general because Cars is part of my childhood, and I've been loving this franchise ever since. But nowadays, I haven't thought about a Cars related stuff ever since. Not even on my channel. I never thought of a Pixar Cars stuff or project ever since. But however, after watching Cars 3 in the theater back in 2017, I've crossed my fingers and waiting for Cars 4. I was waiting for a Cars 4 for a long time. And I know there's going to be a Cars Lightning Races 2. Make sure of that. I'm going to tell you my thoughts about that when the trailer comes out. Hope that show will be a good one. right next to Cartoon. And speaking of Cartoon, let's talk about Cartoon. Cartoon is made of soldiers or one is the best car show I've seen so far. I think the cartoon Mayor Star Tales is one of the best because it includes Tokyo Mater, which that's one of my favorite car shorts out of all of them. It includes Astro Space Mater, Rockstar Mater, like Heavy Metal Mater, or anything like that. So yeah. Sorry, those guys are people are talking in the background. That was all, and some child screaming. That was my nephew screaming. Now let me tell you Now, let me tell you about the story of how I was excited for Cars 3. Now, back in 2015, I think, when I heard that they're going to make a Cars 3, and when I heard that was in development, I was like, yes, yes, booyah, that's what I'm talking about. Disney is cooking hard. I, I am so hyped for Cars 3 now after this announcement. And along with that, there's an announcement of Incredibles 2, which was originally going to be set in 2019, but later got pushed up a little bit earlier to 2018 in June. So Cars 3, well, Cars 3 was my most anticipated movie of all time because Cars is one of my favorite franchises growing up. So, but after I heard long at the teaser trailer, when Lightning McQueen crashed, I was so scared, and I was worried that if Lightning McQueen Lightning McQueen dies in Cars 3 because of that crash, he might get hurt or injured. I was thinking, if Lightning McQueen crashed in the actual movie, he might die, and I don't want that to happen. But luckily, Lightning was okay in the actual movie. But luckily, Lightning Lightning was fine. Lightning was okay. Lightning was Lightning didn't luckily didn't get hurt or injured or didn't die. He just crashed and took all his paint off. You know what I'm saying? And as for Cruiser Mares and Giant Storm, they were great characters in Cars 3. I literally love Cruiser Mares in Cars 3 because Cruiser Mare is one of the best parts of Cars 3. Now, Cruiser Mare is one of my favorite parts of Cars 3 because now there's one scene in Cars 3 when Giant Storm pushed Cruiser against the wall and told him, "You don't belong on this track." And then Cruiser said, "Yes, I do." And then he actually learned that from Doc Hudson when he flipped over Jackson Stormy Land to the other side to cross the finish line. Like he sped past him straight to the finish line. And so she won the Florida 500 Speedway. And in addition to Cars 3, there's some other places besides Florida 500, like Thunder Hollow. Now, when there's a scene when Lightning McQueen and Cruiser Mares disguise themselves as dirt track racers to get into the Demolition Derby. And then there's Fireball Beach when Lightning McQueen and Cruiser Mares are racing on the beach. Lightning McQueen is the trainer how to race. And and there's and there's Thunder and there's Thomasville when him and Cruz met Smokey, Junior Midnight Moon, River Scott, and Louise Nash. Doc's friend. I think they're like Doc's friends. I need to rewatch Cars 3 because I don't know if they're Doc's friends or not. Because I haven't seen that movie in such a long time. So now, okay, I cannot wait to hear the announcement of Cars. So, okay, that's it. That's a story of how I got into the Cars franchise. And there's some more to that. I have all these Cars toys. I have Cars toys. I have Disney Planes toys. Are they part of the Cars universe? I need to go to Google search that up. Are they part of the Cars universe? I don't know. I hope they're part of the Cars universe. The plane spinoffs, yeah, the plane spinoffs. are great. Part one has had to be my favorite. Part two was fine, but I I think the first one is 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 much better than the second one in my opinion. So and by the way, do you know that I watched Planes One 600 times? Wow, that's a lot of times that you we watch the same old movie that you loved, that you saw in the theaters. I even saw it if that theaters with my Auntie Diana, and I got watching Planes One. I was excited, and I was happy. I was. I loved it. I was really loved Planes One, despite it got negative reviews from Rotten Tomatoes and stuff like that. I think it got 25% Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah. But Planes 1 is still really good. And Planes 2 is okay. Planes 2 was fine. And matter of fact, I even have both all the toys for both Planes movies. Right? So, yeah, that's something. Now, okay, now that's the story of how I got interest and how I was upset with Cars franchise back then. And I after you know what, after turning 21 next year, I was really hoping that they're gonna make a Cars 4 so I could go back to being obsessed with a Cars fan. I could become a Cars fan again. Cause I missed the good old days when from 2009, I guess 2009, 3 years later, to 2017 when Cars 3 came out. And and by the way, I actually heard, I only watched one video in 2017 where Disney Doc is saying that there were to be a Cars 4, and when they showed the Fabulous Lightning McQueen, when they showed it at the end of Cars 3, with Dinoco Cruz Ramirez and Jackson Storm on the right, and there's San Francisco on the background. So, yeah, so I think I would love to see a Cars 4 after 2027. I hope it's gonna come out in, let's say, 2030. I guess maybe June 2030. Let's hope it's June 2030 for Cars 4. So I think Cars 4 will be one of the best since Cars 3. Now, okay, so that's up. So, anyways, I'm gonna leave now. So that's it for today's video. Happy 20th anniversary to Pixar Cars, and I'll since also y'all not signing off, please like, share, subscribe, comment, link, and comment down below to see what Cars character would you love to see in Cars 4. For me, I would love to see Finn and Holly back because Finn and Holly are great characters in Cars 2. And the voice actors who did them did an excellent job. Like Michael Caine, who voiced Finn McMissile, did a brilliant as Finn. I would love to see Michael Caine reprise his role as Finn McMuscle in the near future, like Cars 4. And I would love to see Cruz Ramirez as the secret agent in Cars 4, because I would love to see Cruz Ramirez and Finn and Harley working together, because I always dreamed about that ever since after I watched Cars 3 in theater. So, yeah. So, anyways, thank you guys for watching. Take care, and I will see you next time. Bye.